In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports...
Speakers blare out the jarring news bulletin repeatedly at the entrance to the JFK Symposium at Laurentian University. Sudbury is an odd location for a conference on a dead American president, but it underscores just how universal this mystery has become. Don Scott helped organize the symposium. He moves about the halls looking more like Colonel Sanders than a retired high school teacher from Northern Ontario. He's been fascinated with JFK's murder for 20 years.
Who killed President Kennedy? If the official Justice Department of the United States will not tackle this question, then we as ordinary people, wherever we live, can ask that question and hold a symposium to discuss the evidence.
Most of the delegates here don't believe the official version of events, that a lone gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald, killed the president and then was murdered himself days later in the Dallas police station by nightclub owner Jack Ruby. They're impressed by a series of slide presentations, 9 hours in all, by Canada's leading authority on the killing, Tony Senta. It's all here. Inaccurate autopsy reports, faked FBI photos of Oswald, the frame-by-frame breakdown of the fatal bullet hitting Kennedy. And up on stage, a replica of Oswald's Italian rifle. It's powerful stuff, and Senta's show sways the unconverted, if there are any in this audience. For these people, it's not a question of whether there was a conspiracy, but who was behind it.
If you go through all the literature, the critics come down in 5 camps. That is, the Mafia did it, Fidel Castro did it, the Russians did it, the American military did it, and in that I'm including the Central Intelligence Agency, and the Dallas oil men. Those are the 5 groups that they generally fall in one of those 5 camps.
Delegates gather in small clusters outside the lecture hall and swap stories. This is really a convention of collectors. Collectors of memories, theories, trivia, pictures, and books. Lots of books.
In my library at home, well, I know exactly because it's cataloged. I have 1,037 books. Lots of videotapes, close to 90 videotapes, I would say. 200 or 300 audio tapes, and pile of clippings over 4 feet high.
Oh, it's easily a hookable thing. I've got about 45 of my own, and all kinds of magazine articles and pictures and all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm just a new collector. I spoke to a guy today who's got 250 books.
Do you ever feel like you're like Trekkies?
Yeah, oh yeah, it has that feeling. Especially when you come to something like this and you start talking to everybody else, and they all have the same ideas. And oh yeah, did you read this book? Yeah, I got this book. It's like watching Star Trek and saying, oh, I remember that episode. Yeah, I remember that episode.
The real sizzle comes with the big stars, chauffeured to the university in white stretch limos. People like Beverly Oliver, an eyewitness whose amateur film of the killing was confiscated by the FBI. She claims Jack Ruby introduced her to Lee Harvey Oswald just days before the assassination.
Well, Jack and I were very good friends. I worked at the Colony Club, which was next door to the Carousel Club, and one night I went over to tell Jada that I wouldn't be going to a party that evening, and they were sitting at the corner of the runway. She was sitting there with Jack Ruby and another man, and I just walked up, and he stood up, pulled my chair out, and he said, by the way, Beverly, this is my friend Lee Oswald. He's with the CIA.
But the biggest attraction of the weekend is Marina Oswald Porter. A plain but attractive woman, she is shy and faltering. She's surprised when her arrival is greeted with warm applause. It's an unexpected show of support for the widow of one of history's most infamous assassins. In her Russian accent, she tells the crowd she no longer has to hang her head in shame, and she asks people to continue pushing the American government to reopen the case.
But now I can say with all honesty that I do not believe that my ex-husband, Lee Harvey Oswald, is guilty of murder of President Kennedy or Mr. Tippit. By now, after 30 years, thanks to many researchers, we do have this evidence, but it's very difficult to present this on a big podium somewhere officially. This is not permitted yet, and that's another answer to me. What's behind the JFK assassination? Why can't you bring the truth forward?
Some delegates say they don't expect there'll ever be any answers, and the killing will remain one of the haunting mysteries of the 20th century. But in the meantime, the stuff of conspiracy and underworld operatives continues to intrigue people like Richard Brown, an American now living in Toronto.
And it'll never be solved. It's just a fascinating topic because there are so many different points of view on it. Maybe we hope for a little elucidation, but to tell you the truth, after all these years, and even the witnesses that are here for this symposium, some of their stories have changed over the years. Memory gets a bit fuzzy, but it's fascinating. It's just a fascinating exploration.
At the JFK Symposium in Sudbury, I'm Margot Kelly.